Hello everybody, it's me, Carmine DeStefano, the Bookman. In 2005, Stephanie Meyer, then a housewife, released the first of a series of 4 books about teenage angst masked in a vampire storyline. And that book, and the other books, minus their subtitles, was called Twilight. In 2008, the movie industry, again with all its brilliant new fresh ideas, decided to start turning these books into movies. The first one being Twilight. Now this movie had gotten a lot of media hype, and I thought it was about time I took a look at it myself. And now that I have, I want to present it to all of you. So let's take a look at it together, shall we? The movie opens with a little fawn in a peaceful brook, drinking water, until it is hunted down and ultimately captured by something. We then cut to Isabella Swan, played by Kristen Stewart, who's matured a lot since Panic Room. Boy! By the way, and the answer is... Sure, why not? Now she lives in Arizona with her mother and her mother's second husband. However, she's moved to Forks to live with her father, Charlie, the chief of police. Although she hasn't been here in years, apparently everyone knows her. And I do mean everyone.
You're Isabella Swan. You're, Isabella, right?
Hey, you're from Arizona, right?
Jesus Christ, is this a high school or the FBI? Since this is high school, it has its outcasts, the Cullens, the eccentric adopted family members. One being Edward, who Bella has her eyes on. However, their first meeting does not go... What? Huh?
What the fuck is going on?
Edward tries to get his class changed but can't, so he disappears for the next few days, which leaves Bella confused. Cut to a factory, where a construction worker gets attacked by 3 other vampires, and ultimately fed on. But that's okay because Edward's back in class, and now Bella and him get a little chatty. However, during their conversations, Bella realizes that Edward's still a little weird, and that leaves her uncertain. And while she tries to think about that, suddenly she's... Uh-oh! Bella is then introduced to Daddy Cullen, who then speaks to Edward with his wife about why they're not happy he saved Bella. So Bella speaks with Edward and gets lame excuses. He then tells Bella he wants to avoid her. However, the next day, he tries to befriend her again, and gives her a conundrum about himself.
What if I'm not the hero? What if I'm the bad guy?
So say good night to the bad guy.
She invites him to a beach with all her friends, but he doesn't show up. And then she learns that her friend's tribe of wolves had made a deal with the Cullens long ago. Anyway, Bella's father's friend is then met with this chick and these 2 guys who ultimately feed on him. Later that night, Bella investigates the situation and finds a book she wants to buy, which leaves her pensive. And then, hello.
Whenever the weather's nice, the Collins...
Pick up. Get a load of the tits on her.
She ultimately buys the book, however she finds herself being tracked down by a bunch of guys. I didn't know stuff like that happened in Forks, Washington. Now she's about to be attacked until... So Edward takes her out to dinner and tells her that he can read everyone's minds but hers. As Edward drives Bella home, she notices his hands are freezing cold. So she looks this up and finds that in a whole bunch of different locations around the world, they all equal the same thing. So the next day she confronts Edward about... Okay, maybe she doesn't. Now she just leads him to the forest so they can talk privately and she can admit she knows what he is. So he challenges her.
I know what you are.
Say it. Out loud. Say it.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. No vampire, she says. And then Edward takes her up to the mountaintop to show her why he doesn't come out in the sunlight. Is it because it melts his skin? Is it because it burns him to cinders? No, it's because he sparkles like a diamond. I'm sorry, are we vampires or are we fairies? Edward then throws a hissy fit, but they end up lying in the grass together, just looking at each other. If you aren't sure a woman wrote this book, You're pretty sure right now. Edward then tells Bella the story of how he was turned into a vampire when he was dying of fever. He then says that he and his family members only feed on the blood of animals, making him like vegetarians. Yeah, because who gives a shit about animals, right? He then takes Bella to meet his family at their house. That's not going to harm them in any way. And they, more or less, welcome her in lovingly. He then takes her up to his room, and maybe I got the wrong theme for him. Oh, and Edward can play the piano. Yeah, a woman did write this. So Bella can't wait to tell her mother all about this new guy until he... okay, that's a little weird now. So her mother leaves her some advice.
Are you being safe?
What?
Are you being safe?
Yeah. If my 17-year-old daughter had thought about possibly considering maybe getting sexually involved with a guy, I would say this to her.
I'll kill you! All of you!
So Edward and Bella start getting involved in all kinds of nasty, but he suddenly stops himself for some reason, and then they just lie in bed together. Yeah, a woman did write this book. Of course, Bella wants to introduce her man to her father. That's pretty much what I'd be doing in this situation. So Edward meets Charlie before he takes Bella with him on another vampiric excursion. And what do vampires do in their spare time? Play baseball during thunderstorms, apparently. Yeah! So the three evil vampires then come around to interrupt the game. And although things seem peaceful, Christian, Captain Charisma himself, then gets a sense of Bella's presence. I wonder what scent he picked out. Ooh, forget I even asked. So this leads to a vampiric standoff, and ultimately means that Bella must get out of there, or James will hunt her till he kills her. So the Cullens go through so much trouble to get Bella to safety just so she can be easily duped by James to meet her alone in a building. He then attacks her, but is stopped quickly by Edward, who does more harm for her than good. James bites Bella, injecting vampiric venom in her that could turn her into one of them. The Cullen family then dispatches of James pretty easily, and Edward's left with a choice: to let Bella turn into a vampire or suck the venom out of her. So he decides to save her from becoming a vampire. However, he doesn't want to stop sucking on her. It's because you're not telling him the right way.
Stop it!
But it's alright, don't worry. Bella wakes up in a hospital with her mother and Edward sitting there, and then Edward says he's probably better off leaving her, but she convinces him otherwise. So he takes her to the prom, busted leg and all. They dance together privately in a gazebo outside the main party, and Bella practically begs him to change her into a vampire so they can be together forever. However, Edward doesn't do it, and they end up dancing, with one of the evil vampires watching the whole time. So what did I think of this movie? This was the softest vampire movie I've ever seen in my entire life. There was no real villain, there was no real climax, and there was no real dilemma. These two fell in love with each other, despite the fact that Edward was a little weird, and Bella can't do shit. She can't dance, she can't sing, she can't play sports, she can't dress, she can't do anything. And Edward is 17 for 100 years, and he still doesn't know how to talk to women, and that attracts her somehow? She's supposed to be so strong and independent, and meanwhile, she falls in love with him at the drop of a hat. And by the way, these weren't vampires. These were rich douchebags trying to find their place in society. You want to see a real vampire? Show him, Jack.
Sabato worthless, man. Face tits on a zombie worthless. Let her watch, though. Like the Three Stooges with chainsaws.
That's a fucking vampire. And what was with all these references to eating?
You can always go for the eating disorders.
I think I should make sure Bella gets something to eat. She already ate.
I get it. They're vampires. They eat blood. Fine. If you're not a woman and you're older than 16, you're really not going to like this movie. But I can't say that I hated it.
I'm on a special diet.
On second thought, I did hate this movie. I thank you all for watching. I have more for you soon to come. So stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.
So cycle a knife to the back.